Hello everyone, welcome to this demo session on ABAP on HANA training. Thank you so much for overwhelming response over a couple of number of days. And I'm sure many of you have seen my YouTube demo video on ABAP on HANA. I've been asking for this new batch since quite a while. So today we start a new batch on this ABAP on HANA and S4 HANA technical training. Before we start, I want to introduce myself. My name is Anubhav and I'm being training on different technologies on different areas of SAP, including SAP Fiori, Launchpad, Gateway, WebID, OData, ABAP on HANA, and S4 HANA. What is going to be the crucial part of this training is every time you find yourself saying that you cannot do anything, you need to affirm to yourself, hey, no, I can make it. This is not me. This was never me. You need to make yourself convincing answer that you can learn these new technologies. Remember, in this training session, many times there will be so much of tough time for you where together you have to think about, will I be ever able to learn it or not? You need to go through this pain of learning only at once. But after you complete this learning, you will find yourself in a better position in the market. Important point to remember that pain is only temporary. It may last for a minute, for an hour, or for a day, or maybe for a year. Eventually, it will be substituted by something else, and that's going to make you a real professional. However, if you quit, the pain will last forever. So there will be little bit of pain for you to learn these new things throughout the sessions, and I promise you, I will never let my energy down in the classes. But you need to also keep your energy up and running till the end of this course. There are going to be lots of learning which we will do together. Many of you have asked me so many questions. So in this demo session, I will keep my demo session for just 1 hour. And another 1 hour, I will keep it only for question and answers. Question and answers regarding what is that I'm going to cover, what is that I'm not going to cover, how am I going to set up my server, how am I going to go ahead with the course, what will be the timings, what will be the days. All these questions will be answered after the first hour. So let's begin and start our demo session with the very basics of three-tier architecture. So whenever we talk about an SAP area, many of you are already working on SAP BW or SAP S4HANA projects, or maybe working as a BOBI consultant, or majority of you would be working as a WebDynPro ABAP developer or as a core ABAP developer in the company. And now you see a shift in the industry where companies are moving more towards S4 HANA technology or maybe an ECC running on top of HANA database. In that case, what makes more important for you to now switch to this new technology and make yourself convincing to your manager and your colleagues so that you can work on this new technology. So let's start an introduction of three-tier architecture with very basic. Those who know or don't know, then SAP stands for R3. R3 stands for real-time three-tier architecture. We have already seen this kind of picture every time we go and start basics of SAP ABAP or SAP. In this three-tier architecture, we have three layers. The topmost layer is the presentation layer. The presentation layer includes your SAP GUI. With the help of that, you connect to your SAP ABAP system. Then comes is the middleware layer, or we also call it as an application layer or a basis layer, many names for the same layer. And this is the actual core ABAP layer. There are two technologies which are actually supported by ABAP application server, which is actually done by SAP technical platform called NetWeaver. SAP NetWeaver is the SAP's technical platform for executing or running all SAP applications. Over a period of time, there is an evolution happening in the area of NetWeaver. And you see there are a lot of new features which has been introduced, like new ABAP syntax, which we are also going to talk about in this course. The last and the most important layer here is the database layer, wherein you can have your final data stored inside the database. Majority of the processing in the conventional days is being taken care by the application layer. So whenever there is an application code, whenever there is a processing which you need to probably do in your application, majority of this is being taken care by the application layer. So here is the processing of entire application is being done in the application layer. So this is the place where the processing is being taken care by far in the conventional three-tier architecture. And remaining layers are just plug and play. Over a period of time, there is a great revolution and evolution happened in all three layers. And I'm going to talk about all of them in a short introduction video now. The very first thing what SAP is moving is to improve their user experience. The user experience is going to be improved by having a new presentation layer in place. And that's basically a browser or a mobile device. Now you can see the majority of the world is accessing the entire software on their mobile and tablet devices, smart devices. And that's where there is a change in the technology on the front end side. You see, SAP has also evolved this technology over a period of time. So there was a time when you have SAP WebDyn Pro technology, which is also available in two flavors, and SAP BSP technology in this area, business server pages to create web-based SAP applications. And then now, since it's a world of tablet and mobile, there is an introduction of new UX strategy called SAP Fiori, which is based out of SAP UI5 framework. This is the improvement happening on the presentation layer. And as I mentioned earlier, in the middleware layer also, there are more improvements happening. So this layer is also improving a lot with the newer and newer versions of NetWeaver. In the application layer, we're going to specifically talk about the features which have been introduced from SAP NetWeaver 7.4, SP2, SP5 onwards, and 7.5 features. So many times in your project, you may find new ABAP code syntax. Sometimes you see inline data declaration. Sometimes you see people using functional expressions. Sometimes they see value expressions, string expressions. Yeah, lot of new syntax happening in the air. Then another improvement is people are running ABAP on Eclipse. Now ABAP is supported on Eclipse. You might heard about the concepts like CDS views. You might have heard about concepts like AMDP. You might have heard about concepts like ADBC. All these concepts are the new concepts with SAP NetWeaver evolution. We're going to talk about all of them into the detail in this middleware application layer. And then all of that on top of this, the main advantage of using fast processing of something called an evolutionary database, SAP HANA. So the database by far was the least concerned thing for an SAP area, SAP consultant. You just used to dump the data in the database and read the data from database. You never try to push down your business logic, your processing logic and orchestration logic inside the database, never ever. And you used to use Oracle or maybe MySQL or MaxDB or maybe DB6, these different databases. And what you used to do is create secondary indexes to improve the performance in your SE11 transaction by far. This is what you maximum used to typically do. You do a little bit of database tuning, you look at the database tools, the runtime analysis, SQL trace to improve the performance at some extent in the conventional approach. With the introduction of SAP HANA, which is now known to be an in-memory database, the database layer have been now improved a lot. So now we have SAP HANA DB connected to the SAP application server ABAP, which gives an amazing power to do a great transformation in an application which can run much, much faster and better. And this is what will be our main goal for this course. This gives a new dimension to the new dimension Fiori applications as well. We have a concept of OVP framework, overview pages. We have concept of a smart filter application. We have concept of DML based application using BOPF framework, CDS BOPF integration. All of that we're going to talk about in this course. We're going to design an end-to-end Fiori application on top of an S4 HANA system towards the end of this course. And all of that, we will also look at how to improve the performance of your existing ABAP application by moving down this processing logic right into the depth, into the heart of database, because HANA database is much, much more powerful as compared to your typical databases. It's an in-memory database. Now, some of you may have no clue about this box called SAP HANA. That is why my course is designed in a way that I'm going to take you through first the introduction of SAP HANA, the complete end-to-end introduction of SAP HANA. We will discuss that. I do not expect you to know anything at all about SAP HANA database. Nothing. Zero knowledge is required for SAP HANA in this case. Zero knowledge is required in terms of development tool with like ADT and stuff like that. The prerequisite for this course is just little bit of knowledge on core ABAP and little bit of knowledge on OOPS ABAP. This is just the prerequisite I need, nothing else. Little bit of OOPS ABAP. I don't want you to know design patterns or anything else. I just want you to know basics of OOPS ABAP, like what is a class, what is a method, etc. Very basic knowledge of even object-oriented programming you have more than sufficient for me to begin with. This is what I need, but at least you guys should know core ABAP, which includes internal table, the most important concept. I do not expect you to know dialog programming, BADI, BAPI, not required. If you just know core ABAP with introduction of function module and modularization technique in ABAP, it's enough for me to begin this course with you. If that much you know, that's the prerequisite for the course. There is no other prerequisite. And you're going to learn with me an amazing set of concepts throughout this course. This is the only prerequisite. Okay, that's the only prerequisite I would expect you. So now, this is the evolution in the industry, and that's why you see lots of job opportunities have generated into the market. Everywhere, wherever you go, people are asking S4 HANA consultants, which is actually nothing but your ABAP on HANA. You can see here clearly in this diagram, right hand side, there is an ABAP system, there is an application layer running on top of HANA DB. That becomes ABAP on HANA. And this is the architecture for S4 HANA product. So if you are working in an S4 HANA project, you actually see it's an ABAP system running on top of HANA database. You may have also heard about Suite on HANA, BW powered by HANA, or CRM powered by HANA. What are exactly those products? Those products are actually also the application layer of ABAP running on top of HANA database. Just going and showing in the system, I'll just quickly connect to my SAP system. So let me just connect using my SAP Logon to this SAP system, which is running on ABAP on HANA, and show you how can you find out in your company if you have a system which is running on ABAP on HANA. So let's go and connect to the system. I'll just quickly connect to my system and show you in the system how can you find out that if you are running on ABAP on HANA. You can go to the SAP system. So in your company, you already have a system given to you where they are saying that they are on ABAP on HANA. You can actually go ahead and find out the underlying database. So whether you are on Suite on HANA or BW powered by HANA, you can easily go and connect to your SAP ABAP system and then can find out which is the right database you are connected to actually. You can do that quite easily. Yeah, I'll show you that in the system. So we all know that in SAP system, when we go, we can actually find out the underlying database of ABAP system. That's what we're going to see that in a minute. Not that just all. We can also then create a Fiori application. I will also show you guys what kind of applications are we going to build towards the end of this course. Without having zero knowledge on SAP Fiori, you can actually build Fiori applications using Fiori elements, using CDS view UI annotations. We're going to talk about annotations in our chapter number 18. So now I connected to my ABAP system, and you can go to systems and status. In the system status, you can go ahead and find out which is the underlying database. You can see the underlying database is HDB. It's a HANA DB. Okay, this is how you can find out. The another way is to go to transaction DBA cockpit. Usually, some of you may not have access to this transaction. That's why I don't recommend this to use. But those who have access to this transaction in your SAP system, you can also go ahead and find out the primary database connected to your SAP system. You will see that in a second. It will open up. And then you can find out which is the primary database your application server is connected to. So this is actually an ABAP owned HANA system, wherein HANA ABAP system is running on top of SAP HANA. Moving on, what are all the other approaches you have in your company, which you may find out? So HANA was introduced as a new product a couple of years back, and people realized the power of SAP HANA, or probably intend to realize the power of SAP HANA system. And in exploration to analyze the power of such a powerful database, in-memory database, so-called SAP HANA, they have tried to use this SAP HANA database without compromising on what they have actually. So let's say there's a company who is already having an SAP system. For time being, for simplicity, I'm not representing the presentation layer here. So let's say you have SAP application server, which is currently running on any database. This is any database. And now what we want to do is we want to analyze power of SAP HANA. So SAP come up with this product called SAP HANA, and then they say to their customers and partners, hey, I've got this beautiful product called SAP HANA, which is going to improve the performance of your existing application. Now, in that case, a company would probably not directly throw this database, current database, and plug SAP HANA over here. Company would not like to do that. Company want to first see the value out of this product, so-called SAP HANA, and now they want to realize the power of it first before they start using. So what people have done, they have plugged in SAP HANA as a secondary database, wherein they first plug in, install an SAP HANA in a separate box, separate machine. They migrate all the data which they have in the current database, and then they use SAP HANA, SAP database driver for SAP HANA to connect to this SAP application layer to this SAP HANA system. So in this way, they are safeguarding their current approach. The current system is safeguarded. However, SAP HANA system is connected as a secondary database. This is known as sidecar scenario, where your company is not running directly on SAP HANA DB. However, the HANA DB, HDB I would call it as, HDB is running as a secondary database. It's running on a sidecar approach. This is called sidecar scenario. Some of you may have this already in your company still, but it's still very old approach. Then more evolution has happened. And what happened, the first evolution, because HANA's power was more towards analytical capabilities. It was more realized to be a product for speed up the read operations, which is actually required by business warehouse for critical business queries. For example, in a company who is selling electronic products, for example, take an example of Amazon or eBay, they're selling some electronic products. And I want to know in last 20 years, how many laptops were sold? And I want to then drill down and see which company's laptop sold the most. Was it Lenovo? Was it HP? Was it Dell? Which company's laptop sold the most? And then I further want to drill down and say, in the month of December last year, how many Lenovo laptops were sold? So all these critical queries are your business warehouse queries, where you want to take informed decision out of looking into your conventional or your legacy data. Over a period of time, huge amount of data being collected in your ERP system. You're going to push this data to a BW system, and from there, you're going to take informed decisions. That's your BW scenarios. So HANA used to be known as for read optimized. It can do read much faster. I'm going to talk about the base technology of SAP HANA in a minute. But before that, let's quickly understand how the BW on HANA was produced. So with SAP BW, version 7.31. SAP has announced that now it's possible to use SAP application server with BW 7.31 directly on top of SAP HANA database, and that has become BW on HANA. So if you hear somebody talking about BW on HANA, it's essentially an SAP BW system, which is actually seems to be an ABAP system with SAP NetWeaver 7.31 connected to SAP HANA. But for that, again, an important point to note that SAP HANA has to be on HANA 1.0 SPS3. Now, what is SPS3? What is support pack? I'm going to talk about also in detail what is support pack. I assume you are fresher for me. You are just a fresher with 1 year experience with core ABAP and basics of OOPS concept. This is my assumption for all of you. Even you still don't have that much of knowledge, I would not recommend you to go ahead with my trainings, because at least you should know basics of SAP, basics of core ABAP, including modularization and internal table, plus basics of object-oriented concepts. I do not expect you to know anything more than that. So I'm going to explain you what is version, what is release, and what is a support pack also in our upcoming days. So don't panic. Right now, just understand when a software is getting released, sometimes software may have bugs. To fix these bugs, there are small patches which are released by the software vendor. So SAP release a big software to you. Now you find issues in that software. When you find an issue, you report this to SAP. And now SAP has to give you a patch, a small correction, which is then can be applied in your system to fix that bug. And such collection of corrections becomes a support pack, because that issue may be found by another customer also. So that a set of corrections together with notes, if you heard about term called notes, all the notes are collected and delivered via support pack together. Plus some small functionality can also be added. So that's what support pack is all about. We're going to discuss that more in detail. With SPS 03 HANA, it was possible to connect to SAP BW directly with 7.31 version. And then comes our star of the day, ABAP on HANA. Now it was possible to connect SAP HANA, SAP ABAP system, which I would call SAP NetWeaver 7.4 SP06 directly on SAP HANA DB. Okay, actually it was SP5. So with SAP HANA, you can directly connect to HANA DB from SAP NetWeaver system to SAP HANA directly. This is what will also be our focus for the day, for the course. We're going to discuss about features. Actually, you can do it from SP2 onwards because we have got proxy concepts also introduced. So with SAP NetWeaver 7.4 SP2 onwards, you can directly run your ABAP stack on top of SAP HANA. And some of the examples of the products originated out of this technology ABAP on HANA were, so ABAP on HANA here is the technology where an ABAP system runs on top of HANA. And in this technology, if you look at some products like Suite on HANA, CRM powered by HANA, SAP SRM powered by HANA, and then finally we have simplified suite, which is known as S4HANA. S4HANA, there are some more improvements done in terms of evolving the best practices. But actually, technically, the stack is ABAP on HANA. There is an ABAP system running on top of HANA DB. So any of these products, if you're working, this course is more relevant for you as a technical person. If you're looking for basis administration in this course is not for you. If you're looking forward for installation, note installation, configuration, this course is not for you. This is purely for hardcore developer. If you are working as an ABAPer in a company, BOI, BI, BW consultant, you are working with analytical tools, and you see an industry shift where nobody is now asking BW, people are more concerned about S4, people talking about CDS and stuff like that. This course is for you. So that's the change in the industry. That's the change, and that's what exactly we're going to discuss throughout this course. This is our main goal. This is going to be our main goal throughout this course. So let's go and discuss quickly about what is the problem in your typical conventional architecture with SAP application server with ABAP. So if I look at any design of any database table in current SAP system, take an example of sales order table in SAP system. And we are all know that we have VBAC, so-called, and VBAP table, sales order header and line item table in the system. So in these systems, the conventional SAP system, you have sales order header table, the VBAC table. It has couple of fields. Let's take an example of fields which we have in this system, in the VBAC table. And these fields are like your sales organization, your distribution channel, your division. Then you probably have your ship to party, sold to party, etc., etc. All these are stored in the header table of sales order. The typical way of storing data into database, data in the database is stored in a row format. What is row format? Actually, if you look at in the system, how the system stores data in a row format is consecutive memory location. Let's imagine this blue bar is your memory, and now we want to store the sales order data. So we want to store order type OR, sales organization 1001, distribution channel 00, and then you have these values, and then you have ship to party 00010 and sold to party 00010, and you have all the details stored like this. Similarly, you have another sales order for which again you are storing this information. Order type is again OR, and then you have order number also. Let me put 1, and order number then comes as 2. So like this, the data is stored in a row store format. Let's say this is the data. So consecutive memory location, you can see this is my second record of the database table, which is stored in the memory. I'll highlight in a different color every record probably just to explain you. This is how your typical data in the database of in row store data is stored. Now what happens is every time you make a small change to one single field, suppose somebody make a change to this ship to party, and I go to order number 2 and make a change to the ship to party to 0020, what will happen behind the scenes? System is not going to update this data. For legal purpose, what SAP system does, it has to keep track of versions. So that's something we call it as change document. If you heard about in SAP system, there's a change document written in the system which keeps track of changes of this enterprise data. So what behind the scene happens is system is going to make another copy of the complete record. It's going to make a complete record copy once again, and then it's going to change the data in this change record. It's going to store a change record, and that now this is the latest state of your data. As a result of this, if you see any single field out of all the fields in a database table changes, you have to re-replicate the whole record. And imagine if this happens all the time, how big your storage will become over a period of time. So you need big storage requirement, hence big cost on the system. At the same time, if you also look at the concept of line item table, similarly, if there is a change, small change in the material number, you got to re-replicate the whole line item record once again to write this change document. Now, at the same time, you also need indexes to speed up your access of the data. So many times in SAP system, we create more secondary indexes to speed up the read operations. Index 2, index 3, you got to create more indexes. And you all know that when you create an index, system is also going to replicate the data physically of the indexed column along with the row number of that index. So you got to end up creating lots of tables, tiny tables, which are actually indexes to speed up the read operation. Now take an example. If I want to read the total number of orders, or I want to read total sales per company. I want to read total sales per company or per customer or per ship to party in this case. Okay. This is what I want to know. Now, in the system, in the header record, let's say sales is also stored here like this, 3,000 US dollars. And here also we have stored the second record, the total sales is 5,000 US dollars. So to now evaluate the total sales per ship to party, what you need to do, your memory, how the memory read will be done. Memory read will be done in a row store in a sequential order from left to right, top to bottom. So system has to now go through all these cells to pick the ship to party and its sales. So it has to go through all these columns, all these records one by one. So ultimately your read time will increase for this kind of query where you want to read total sales per ship to party. So system has to read unnecessarily these columns, and then it has to also read the ship to party and of course the total sales for this party. And then for the next record, again, it has to traverse through these cells, which are unnecessarily, you actually have to traverse them. You have to process them because you have to reach to the right ship to party and the sales amount. So you can see the read access will take more time in such cases. And that's why you got to create indexes. So your read access can become faster when you have to run such kind of queries. So over a period of time, when the data becomes big, when the volume of the data becomes even bigger, it even takes more time, and even secondary indexes will not help you. So for BW like queries like this, where I want to know how much total sale every customer gave me on maybe last 20 years, to do these kind of complex queries on an ERP system, it slows down the performance. It can sometimes become so worse that it affects your transactional system also. And that's the reason we have concept of SAP BW. In the BW, what we do, we're going to copy the same data to a BW system. So we are going to copy the same data to a BW system. And here we run some reports, BW reports to perform, to create new aggregated tables. We call it as aggregated tables or aggregates. So we have to build the models in BW to create aggregations where I store not all the data, but I only store the data like this. So maybe what I'm going to do in the BW aggregation, I'm just going to store the total sales per customer already. So when I'm processing this data, when I'm bringing this data from this place, I dump the data and then I just store sold to party and sales. And then I just put the number 00010. Sales was 3,000 US dollar, and then 00100, and then it was 5,000 US dollar. So this is how I'm going to build another database table to copy the same data so that my read performance can be improved. And then I fire a query on this table performing the total sales amount and getting the results to speed up my read calls. So that's a disadvantage of row store because it has to traverse through all the cells one by one. Another problem, when you change something, more volume gets created as a change document. You always need secondary indexes additionally. And then again, if you want to optimize the read performance, you've got to copy the data to BW system, build the aggregates and read the data from there to speed up your read queries. And on top of it, all these data, guys, all this data stored in a hard disk. We call it as hard disk device. So how computer reads the data? Let's take a deep dive inside computer, how computer reads the data. So what we exactly have is a hard disk. And we all know that on top of this hard disk, we have a primary memory. So hard disk known to be secondary memory. And then there is a primary memory. And this primary memory is called RAM, which is random access memory. And then we have central processing unit, CPU, which is talking to this RAM. Now, CPU, if you have heard about, in engineering days, we have a concept called CPU registers. Those who are from engineering, you all know that CPU have a concept called registers. If you recall quickly, during engineering days, we used to write programs like move A, comma B, add A. What is it? They are CPU instructions. We are actually telling the hardware, the actual IC, it's an integrated circuit actually. To this IC, we are telling move the data from a register A to register B. And all the data movement or all the data in the CPU was in 0 and 1 format. 0, 1 is actually a flip-flop which stores all this data. I'm not going to deep inside this, but just remember CPU works on instructions. And it has internally the registers, CPU registers, where the data is stored and operations are performed. So CPU registers, you run these expressions, you pass these commands to the CPU, and CPU does the manipulation. This is the brain of computer. Now, then CPU can talk to a RAM, which is a flash memory. It's a memory which was very costly, and that's the reason we used to never have big size of RAM as compared to the hard disks what we used to have in our computers. So always we used to have hard disks in the computer, the bigger size in GBs, and we have small MB size of RAM in our computers. At the same time, the power of CPU was not that much to handle big size of RAM because these CPUs were having something called an address bus. Address bus is the capacity of a CPU to address the memory size. So if the address bus of a CPU is 16-bit, how much maximum memory you can attach to the CPU is 2 raised to power 16. Only this is the maximum size of RAM you can connect to a CPU. If the address bus size of CPU is 16-bit, which is actually your 8084 IC in your basic engineering days, which we learned. We had a complete big subject in our 4th semester in engineering on 8084 IC. If you remember, recall that. 16-bit was the address bus size. So maximum size of RAM which you can attach was 2 raised to power 16. Over a period of time, the CPU was tremendously improved. And now you have multi-core CPUs with bigger size of address bus, which means an evolution in the hardware makes it possible to attach bigger size of RAM. So what is the evolution in hardware industry which makes it possible to get us cheap and better performance in the hardware industry? So what is hardware evolution? Let's talk about it. Hardware evolution. So, and when you look at the hardware evolution, we have cheap price of memory now available. So I remember my first MP3 player which I bought from Delhi Connaught Place at a rupees of 2100 rupees, and that was about just 64 megabytes of memory or 156 megabyte of memory. It hardly used to store about like 25 or 30 songs at a time, and that was cost me 1900 rupees. And now today's world, if I just go to the market, I can quickly buy a memory size of RAM about 4 GB around 1500 bucks. Very cheap. Memory price is decreased over a period of time. The fabrication of memory has become cheaper. The mass production made it possible. All these big companies like ScanDisk, Transcend, Seagate, these big companies, they're coming with cheaper memory. So there is a reduction in the price of RAM prices. Another evolution is in the CPU powers. CPUs are now available in multi-cores. You must have heard about dual core processor, which means in the fabrication of a computer, actually there is a single chip, and in this single chip there are 2 cores which are separately connected. There are 2 cores, and each core can do processing parallelly. So this is core 1 and this is core 2, and each core is actually can do processing as one CPU can do. So now you have multi-core CPU, which is an evolution in the industry of CPU. And you might have heard about quad core processor. Quad means 4. Now there are 4 cores. Yeah, quad core processor. So now it's possible to have four processing units, 4 cores on one single blade. You might have heard about the mobile phones. Latest mobile phones are coming with even more powerful processor, octa-core processor, where your one blade can have fabrication of multi-cores, which means its processing power is amazing. It can process better. It can do parallel processing. So one core is equivalent to one processing unit. Similarly, multi-cores, which means parallel processing can be done. That's another advancement happen in the hardware industry, which makes it possible to attach more bigger memory. And It's also possible to do massive parallel processing. So this gives a birth to the parallel processing engine. Yeah, that was another advancement in the software in the hardware industry. So cheaper memory price, availability of computers, the CPUs with multiple fabrications, and then it also another advancement in the hardware industry was to make it possible for the hardwares to improve the capability to store the data in memory. So now it's also possible to have longer backups, no power outage. As a result, you don't have to worry about power loss. So you can also store the data into RAM so that your data will not go out. Your data will not be disrupted because you can have hardwares like UPS connected to your system, uninterrupted power supplies, and that will really save you when there is a power outage. You can uninterruptibly run everything by keeping the data into the RAM. So it's possible to have longer backups, hence you can store and keep data in RAM without worrying too much about it. Then another advantage is operating systems have also improved. We have 64-bit operating system nowadays, which means the speed by which operating system can give instructions, these instructions, it can give to CPU is much, much faster. That's another hardware advancement happening in the industry. This is what is a hardware evolution which has happened in the industry. Now, looking at this software evolution, you can see the disadvantage of row store, where it has to traverse through all the data, it has to replicate all the data whenever there's a single field changes, we have to create secondary indexes, when we have to build aggregates separately, move the data from one system to another system, lots of problems, lots of problems. So now, if we go and talk about the software evolution to overcome these problems, the first software evolution comes into the mind is column store. Instead of storing the data into row store, we decided to store the data in column store. What is column store? Let's imagine there is a database table like VBAC where you're storing the sales order data. I'm going to break down this table into small, tiny tables. So instead of order type OR, all this data what we have, we're going to break it down each column in a tiny table. So I'm going to have one table, another, each column is one tiny table, guys. So now first table stores my order number, order type OR, and now I can store the order number, the record number along with it. So I can say OR is stored at record number 1, 2, and 3. And then I can have another table, tiny table, which is stores ship to party information. So I say 00100 is a ship to party for record number 2, 3. And then I can have another one where I can say my amount. So I can say 3,000 US dollar is for record number 1. Then you have 5,000 US dollar is for the record number 2. And then you can have likewise other columns is storing the data, tiny tables. Break it down every column into multiple tables. What is the advantage? The first advantage, look at here. In this row store, you have to store the duplicate data again and again. See, OR has to come here and here. But with the column store, no duplicate data can be stored. You don't store that. You just put OR and put for this OR should belong to which are all the records. That's the first advantage of column store. Yeah. So let me note down those advantages. The first advantage is in the column store, we do not have to store the duplicate data again and again. No requirement to do that. That's the first advantage. You're saving a lot of memory. The second advantage of this approach is to only store the unique combinations. Unique combinations. For example, in this case, there are more order types like TA or BD. You can store only the unique combination with their record numbers. Another great advantage is to calculate the aggregations much faster. So now in this query, since the data is stored like this, if I want to calculate total of sales, I don't have to now traverse through every record. because I have my sales volume stored only in one tiny table. Only this table I have to go through. I don't have to touch the other tiny tables if I just want to calculate total, isn't it? So your read access becomes amazingly faster because we do not have to traverse through all the records, cells, which was actually the case in row store. We have to traverse through all the individual cells in order to reach to a particular cell because they are stored in consecutive memory location. Here they are not. Here inside the memory, if you look at how the data will be stored, so I just to represent column store like this, but inside the memory it is like OR, and then once it is stored and then 00100 ship to party, all the values consecutively, whatever ship to parties you have in the system, like this. Then you have your sales 3000, 5000, 8000, like this it is stored. So now if you just want to calculate the sale, its system knows which is the segment for the sale, and it has to go through this segment and just consecutive memory location, it has to just traverse through these things to calculate the total. So your read becomes much faster when you are targeting the columns. Remember guys, this is only works when you're having targeting the columns. Now one question to all of you: how many columns your Mara table has? Anybody? Have anybody worked with Mara table? Material master? How many columns we have in Mara table? Let me just quickly show you. Let me just
Around
go to this.
235.
Around 235 columns. Now next question to you. Around 235. Let me put 235 columns. Did you ever write a report where you have to use all columns? Did you ever written in your life a report
No,
where you have to use all the columns? That I want to read every
no,
column and every column needs to be processed by me, by my report.
No,
Never. You never do
no,
that.
no.
Never. So this is the biggest problem in the row store. Typically, the laziness, you can so-called laziness of a developer, we typically write select star. Select star means get me all columns. Unfortunately, this is performance killer because now it has to crawl through the entire set of cells, consecutive memory location, get you all things which are actually not required. The performance of this is still good in a row store because it has to just go through all the records, they are consecutively stored, and it has to fetch you. But at the same time, if you say select star for a column store, it is worse. Why? Worse why? Because now system has to first go and reconstruct the tuple, reconstruct the record, because now the storage is little different style. Storage is done in a little different style. System has to now first take this and then it has to start constructing your record. Take this and then it has to again go to this location here, this gentleman, it has to take this and then it has to go and take this gentleman 3000 from here, this 3000 it has to take to construct your record so that user can see the same record. So it has to now jump over, skip over and jump over, and to construct similarly the second record again it has to jump over and skip over to the cells, and that becomes even performance problem. So column store, never use select star with column store. However, we actually are very lazy in writing select some column names. But if you do coding good way, column store is going to get you the maximum performance out because you are giving the targeted columns, which is exactly know which are the tiny table it has to hit. And that's going to give you great performance. We're going to learn a lot of new techniques in our course and new guidelines that when we are running such a column store database, which is actually going to be in HANA, we are going to store data in column store. And then we will learn these technologies or techniques and guidelines to understand what it means when I'm coding on SAP HANA in ABAP. Yeah. So column store, the advantage, you saw clearly an advantage. It doesn't have to really traverse through all the records to get the data. So the read performance is fast, but only provided when you're targeting the certain columns. So first guideline for all of you, when you're coding on a BAP on HANA, make sure that you specify column names rather than star. If you specify star, you're going to kill yourself. The performance is even worse because it's a column store DB. So that's an advancement in software industry, that you can now use column store. Another advantage, look at here, every tiny table is an index. You see, you don't need additional indexes. Every tiny table itself is an index, guys. So no need of secondary indexes. Yeah, no need of secondary index. That's another advancement in case if you use column store, because you can think this is your index, which is storing a row number and the record value. Aggregates can be calculated much faster directly without performance issue. So you do not need to aggregate tables, which means all the people who are working on BW, their job is on risk. What you do in BW, you create info models, info cubes, and aggregate the data. Your job is on the risk. Because now with SAP S4HANA and ABAP on HANA, aggregates can be built on runtime. You can see I can calculate the total quite easily directly on this tiny table. I don't have to traverse through all the records, guys. Not needed at all. That's another performance improvement which with innovation in the industry of software, in the software area. The next advantage of using this is also that whenever you are using a column store DB, the another advantage of such a column store DB is insert only approach. So what SAP HANA does behind the scenes, it never change the record. So if you are not changing the existing value, you don't have to store the change record. Rather, what it does, it just insert new data. Suppose somebody changed the data at position record number 5 from 5,000 US dollar to 6,000 US dollar. What HANA does? HANA inserts the new value in the DB with its index again. You see, again it has inserted. So now you say, Anubhav, you are crazy. What are you talking about? You inserted a record again with the same primary key, with the same row number 5 again. What will happen? So this way, guys, we don't need to, point one, store the change records. We use only insert only approach. And now what happens during read? Along with this new record, same primary key, HANA also inserts a timestamp. Timestamp means when this record was inserted. So whenever you fire read query now, after that, what it does a time manipulation at runtime. So what it does behind the scenes, when you write your select query to read the data, so total sales or sales, then what it does, system goes to the backend, it checks the record IDs. However, it also checks the record IDs with maximum timestamp. So what it adds behind the scenes, order by latest timestamp only. So as a result, what you're going to get when you read, you will see 5,000 for record number 2 and 3, 3,000 for record number 1, and 6,000 for record number 5, because there is a data with same primary key 5 and 5, but this one is having higher timestamp. This one was latest. It always returns the latest result. This way you also avoid creating additional overhead on database for storing your change records, or what you call change document. You always follow insert only approach in SAP HANA, only approach. And when read happens, it reads only the latest record with latest timestamp. These are all the software advancements. And then another advantage of this is compression is very good. When the compression is very good, you can actually keep the data in memory. You can store the data in memory inside the RAM. You store data in RAM, guys. You don't store data in hard disk. Hard disk is still used for backup and recovery purpose. Okay. Backup and recovery, only that is the purpose. All the data is kept in the RAM very close to CPU. Hence, there is no bottleneck between RAM and hard disk. That also gets you great performance improvement in SAP HANA. These are all the advancement in the software and hardware together makes this product called SAP HANA, guys. These are all called hardware and software advancements which built this product called SAP HANA. That's why if you see the full form of SAP HANA stands for High Performance Analytical Appliance. Analytical appliance. Why it is called appliance, guys? One second, I just correct this typo. Analytical appliance. Why it is called appliance? Why it's not called DBMS software? Why it's not called database? Because it's a combination of hardware and software. It is not just a hardware. It is not just a DBMS, typical DBMS system or typical software. It is a combination of hardware and software, guys. That's why it's called appliance. Is this clear, everybody? What is SAP HANA? It's a combination of hardware and software advancement, which is to achieve great performance improvement in an enterprise application. By achieving a great performance, you can see also increase your company revenue, you can speed up your processes, and then it uses the new software and hardware advancement which I just discussed in these slides. Clear, everybody? Now with this great hardware improvement, the the cost of the HANA database is very high as compared to the conventional databases. So more processing is now with SAP HANA. So your SAP HANA layer is very powerful. It can do processing for you actually faster because data is kept in the database. It can be read faster, it can be processed faster. You have multi-core CPUs, you can do parallel processing, data is kept in the RAM. You have great advantage. And why not now we push down our logic more to the database layer, and that's what called core to data paradigm. So the previous products, our processing logic used to be executed in application layer. All the processing logic, what you got to write, what you got to process more and more on the ABAP layer. You got to do it in ABAP layer so that you can run your applications. So more and more processing logic processing was done on the ABAP layer. So this pyramid indicates the processing was more on the ABAP side. Yeah. But with ABAP on HANA, what has happened? We flip this and now we try to push down more logic on the database because this layer is more powerful. This layer can really do things much faster as compared to the earlier layer. Yeah. That's called code to data paradigm, where you are now going to process more and more logic within the database. You're going to push down this logic, and that's what we're going to learn in this course. We're going to talk about information modeling. We're going to talk about view proxies. We're going to talk about SQL scripting. It's an open challenge. No trainer on internet. No trainer on internet will teach you SQL script. You might have taken hundreds of trainings on SAP HANA also in the past with some trainers. They are afraid to teach SQL script because they are not programmers. They are maybe from BW world where they were doing some modeling. They can teach you modeling, but they will not teach you end-to-end stack. Nobody will teach you end-to-end stack. Maybe some people good in SAP HANA, they will just teach you information modeling. They will teach you a little bit of calculation view, attribute views, analytical views. Beyond that, they will not go. They will just only concise your knowledge only within this block. But we're gonna learn the complete end-to-end all three layers. We're gonna build an application OIA scenario, open item analysis, real-time scenario. We're gonna build using all the techniques. We're gonna build that open item analysis scenario, a real-time OIA scenario for an accounting clerk, accounting clerk. Okay, we're going to build an OIA scenario. We're going to build an OVP Fiori application, a smart filter Fiori application by taking an S4 HANA POC, S4 HANA use case I'm going to take, and I'm going to build that. Let me just show you a glimpse of the application which we are going to build. So I just quickly connect to my SAP Web IDE to show you what is that we're going to build. So just let me connect to my Web IDE. I'm going to show you all this in the system, and believe me, no Fiori knowledge is required, guys, for you to learn this. I will teach you in such a way. There's a concept called annotations with CDS, UI annotations. We're going to learn them so that you can understand and create such applications. So I'm going to build this Fiori application. Let me show you the one which we recently created. So this is the kind of application we're going to build in our course towards the end using CDS view UI annotations without coding single thing in JavaScript or Fiori. No Fiori knowledge required to build such an application. Let me just run this. It's connected to my SAP HANA system. So that's why it's asking my credentials for my S4 HANA system with an OData service. I'm going to also give you introduction of basics of OData service. What is an OData service? How can you create OData services on top of CDS views? I'm going to show you that also into the course. So complete end-to-end stack I'm going to cover, including SQL scripting. SQL scripting is a big challenge for majority of the trainers online. They will not teach you SQL script because some of them are not programmers. They are from BW world. All the majority of HANA trainers are only from BW world. They never been into programming. They never been into coding. But I am more in as an ABAPer, working as an ABAPer. So I'm more into the coding part. So if you want to learn hardcore development, please join my course. I am in my course, you're going to see real coding stuff. I'm going to do a lot of ABAP code, lot of OOPS ABAP code, lot of SQL scripting code to do code push down to SAP HANA, view proxy concept, procedure proxy concept, AMDP, CDS table functions, CDS views, UI annotation, Fiori application, everything end to end. We're going to cover all three stacks I'm going to touch upon. New ABAP syntax, performance tools, code inspector, everything we're going to discuss in this course. Open item analysis scenario, lots of things we're going to talk about it. You can see this is the application we're going to build towards the end of this course. A real analytical application in an S4 HANA system. Yeah. We're going to also build a smart filter application. We're going to also build an OBP. We're going to build a smart filter with DML operation to database using CDS BOP of introduction, CDS BOP of integration. So there's a lot more things we're going to do in this course. It's just a glimpse of my style of giving demo to you. You can also see the DBA cockpit transaction up and running, and there you can see my HANA database is acting as a primary database for this ABAP system. Yeah, this is my ABAP system. It is connected to. It's an S4 HANA system which I'm going to use. We will also talk about the development tools, ABAP development tools in Eclipse. What is it? How to set up that ADT in your system. I assume you are fresher. You don't know anything. You're just an ABAP fresher who knows core ABAP and OOPS ABAP. And this training is designed actually in this way. You don't need to have any clue about SAP HANA as well. I'm going to teach you the core concepts of SAP HANA, modeling concepts of SAP HANA, SQL scripting. We will have a deep dive in SQL scripting. All of that I'm going to touch upon in my course in detail. Okay, so as I promised, that's 1 hour for me to give you an introduction and a quick demo about what is that which we're going to do. Today's session, I'm not going to write any code. However, you can, if you're interested more in my demos, you want to see more, you can always reach to my YouTube channel. So many of you have approached me because you have seen my YouTube videos about ABAP on HANA. So you can go to this playlist on YouTube, just search my name, click on my name, Anubhav Oberoi, and then you will find a playlist on my channel for ABAP on HANA. So go to playlist and you will find a ABAP on HANA playlist, more demo videos, sample videos to showcase you my teaching skills, my way of teaching and covering some of the concepts is given over here. You can just go through these demo videos and see my style of teaching. And then you can decide accordingly. You can also look at the comments on the videos. How do they look like? Is it really helping others or not? So all that you can really look at the reviews and make a choice. You can also have a quick look at this OIA scenario, which I was talking about, real-time OIA scenario we're going to cover. That is just a glimpse of these demo videos are put here on YouTube. Just go through them. Maybe if you're not interested to join course, go through these YouTube videos. You're going to learn a lot of things just from them if you're not going to go through. But if you want to go in a structured way, please subscribe to the training. We'll go complete 40 hours of this training. In these 40 hours, I'm going to start from the very basic, from the introduction of SAP HANA, taking you to the HANA system, creating basics of SAP HANA for you, making you understand all the core HANA concepts, looking at ABAP concepts with SAP HANA, new ABAP syntax and stuff like that. All of that we're going to do. The course content is already available also on my website, onlinefioretrainings.com. The module name is ABAP on HANA and S4 HANA technical training. That's the module name. You can go and download the course content from the website and see if it fits to your need. Believe me, today's need for any ABAPer is ABAP on HANA. If you are working in a ABAP project, if you are an ABAPer, if you are a BW consultant, you have to move to ABAP on HANA. If you are a BW consultant, even because you have to build CDS views. If you are a Fiori consultant, you have to learn ABAP on HANA, because that's what for Fiori also these days people are doing. They're creating, asking for analytical apps with CDS views. So you got to go into ABAP on HANA. This is the module. ABAP on HANA and S4 HANA training. You can also download the course content from here. The duration for this is 40 hours. You can also download free interview questions. No need to join my course. Free interview questions for all of you, prepared by one of my ex-students. She has attended the training program with me, and she has worked hard, and she prepared this interview question. Please go and download it today for free from my website, guys. Absolutely free interview questions right from the scratch for complete ABAP on HANA. All the interview questions are available over here, absolutely free for all of you. And these are all prepared by my student by looking
Hello,
at a screenshot from my training. Yes,
hello,
can you hear me?
Anubhav.
Yes.
Yeah, are you doing ABAP on HANA on Eclipse?
Yes, because CDS view cannot be created by SAP GUI. You have to use ADT ABAP development tools on Eclipse. I'll just show you the glimpse of it. You can see this is the Eclipse installation I have. I'm going to teach you what is Eclipse. Don't worry. I treat you as a fresher,
Okay,
more a ABAPer. For me, you just know SAP GUI. You never know what is Eclipse. Don't worry about that. I'm going to show you installation of Eclipse, how to connect to the server, how to set up your own server, what is the server requirement. If you want me to arrange a server, I will also arrange that for you, but the server will be charging you extra. If you have your company server, well and good, I will show you the techniques. You can connect to your company server, very good. You can do that. I don't want to waste your money, so I will tell you what you need to look at your company server. If it fits to your need, very good. If not interested to set up your own server, I have an option. You can also go to my YouTube channel and check this video. Set up your ABAP on HANA server for free in Amazon Cloud using SAP Cal. Here
okay,
also you can watch this YouTube video. I'll put this link into the chat window. You guys can just check this YouTube video and see that. This is also one way. Option number two. Option number three, if you want me to arrange a server, that is an extra cost on all of you. It would be around like 30 35 USD per month, or it will come around 2500 INR per month for this server access for S4HANA. I actually take it from a third party. He's a reliable guy who has a proper license. It's not a pirated software. The beauty of that system is I can connect to my ABAP on HANA system from my local computer. You can see S4 HANA local computer. I'm on my local computer. Majority of the vendors who are giving you server, they give you RDP, remote desktop. This remote desktop performance is very bad. You don't feel like working with RDP systems. Very bad actually. So I don't like working with RDP. I feel like I want to feel like I am sitting in my company, and the way I access SAP system in my company when I'm in the company intranet or VPN network, same way I would love to access and learn things right away from my local system. So this is the server. I can connect from my local SAP. The guidelines are also will be provided for you to set up it and connect to you from your local system. You can see I can connect from local system. I can connect to my ADT, my Eclipse to this local system. So you can see here my ABAP system also connected via this local Eclipse to build my CDS artifacts. So everything under one roof, guys. You want to learn SAP UI5 Fiori, I am the trainer. You want to learn HANA Access, native HANA development, I am the trainer. So everything with the same methodology of teaching. And my methodology of teaching, those who know me, those who have taken some courses from me, you know I'm not believer of copy paste. Major yes, please.
Hello, Hiren.
Guys,
Anubhav.
I'm
Hello.
confused. I cannot answer everybody. Please go one by one. We can extend this for half an hour more.
Yeah, yes. So Anubhav, I'm having a query like